Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining. This is day 6 of Oracle SQL training. And in previous session, we learned about constant in SQL. We have a basic overview on that. And we completed practical session for a few of the constant that includes not null, default, and unique. So in this day 6, we are going to cover remaining constants. That will be primary key constraint, foreign key, check constraint, and index we will skip as of now because for index we will go once we will have a session on PLSQL. So the remaining three constant we will cover in this session. So let me directly jump to the primary one. So if you remember the unique key, when we discuss about the unique key constant, so that unique key constant allows to make that any specific column to store and unique values. That means that that column cannot store null value, cannot store duplicate values. But yes, that column can store null value. But when we are talking about primary key, so in primary key, it's by default that not null. So in primary key column, we cannot store null value. That's the first point. Second point, primary key is also working like a unique key. That means it will never store a duplicate values. So in simple term, if you will say primary key is a combination of two different constant. The first one is not null constant and another one is a unique constant. So let us create one table and where we will see that how that primary key is working and how we can add primary key in our table. So let me move to that SQL developer. So this is our SQL developer. The same way we will use this example of this customer table where we will create table. So in this table, we know that if we are not going to add any constant, that value can contain duplicate value. So we want to restrict the user to insert duplicate values in customer ID table, right? Customer ID column. So what we will do? So we will go and add the constant. So that constant is primary key. So this primary key is a constant.
Advanced.
So that this cust ID column will be
Deep
unique
है
plus not null. So this cust
कौन सी
ID column will not store null values and will not store the duplicate values. So let me just execute this code so that it will create table. So now then you can see XX underscore customer table is created and these all are the columns. So if you want to validate the column, we can just copy and we
कितनी
have one command, right? DESC means describe and the table name. So it will
छोटा
describe
वाला
the
नहीं
table name and it will see
इससे
that you
छोटा
can
और क्या
see.
होगा नहीं वो एक
Uh,
आता है 5-10 नहीं
Farhan,
नहीं
can you
अभी क्या
please mute yourself?
नेक्स्ट का नहीं आया अभी तक
So here we have cust ID column and the cust ID column is displaying here as not null because the family key
तो
is like not null plus unique. And if you want to get more details about this customer table, so we can just select this table, right click here, and we get it, how we can go for describe. So once we will go for describe, it will describe the details related to the table, and in the table we will have all the details. And if you will move to this constant part, you will be able to see one constant which we added. A name of that constant type is primary key, and name this name is default given by system. Even while creating the primary key constant, we can give any name, right? But if we will not passing any name, by default it will take this name. So whenever any issue will come, it will throw this name error in this name with this name. So you can just make a note of this in the constant name that is C006997. So I will show you how you can identify. So how which column added by this primary key. So once you will click here, you will be able to see the column name. So that is cust underscore ID. So now it's done. So let me go and insert one record into this table. So allow me 1 minute so that I can open the sheet. So for that I will just go to the topic is already open. Yeah, last time we used this table. So today also we will use this table only. So insert the records. So for example, let me have a correct record. So let's go for use this table. So here we added the primary key and that primary key will not allow us to insert duplicate values. So let me go and insert one record into the table. So we already have insert queries. So this is our query we use for inserting the records. I will use the same query. And don't be confused while using this. insert queries, right? So this insert query can be written as this one or can be written in a single line, just like here. So whatever way you want, you can follow. But obvious, it will be easy to to view to the user or for you to yourself to that if we will use this query in a such a way or in we can say that in the proper manner. So what we will do, this is our keywords of commands. So these all are the column name for which we have to insert the values. So we'll go second line for this column. This is the value keyword defined that we are going to pass values, and these all are the values for that. So here you can see the first column we given as cust ID, and for example, we are going to pass this null here and remaining are the name. So if you will hit this query, it should throw an error. That error this should be that because we know that the cust ID is primary key and primary key constant is not going to allow us to insert null values. So let's see like is that allowing or not. So you can see when you are going to hit the values, the error message is something that cannot insert null into this xx underscore customer dot cust ID. So it's clearly by you can see whenever you will go for error message, you will be like able to debug the issues. So it's saying that an attempt was to made to insert null into previously listed object. These object cannot accept a null value. That's true. That primary key will not allow you to insert a null value in that column. So that's the first point. Another point we will cover. So here let me provide one value that 1001, right? So once I will go, this record will be inserted. You can see one record inserted. And if you want to see the data for the table, so we'll go select start from this table and you can see one record inserted. So again, we have to insert next record. So I'm just going to copy this one. And while inserting by mistake, I forget to change this ID. And I'm just going to change the name. Alex, age is 13 and location is Mohali. Now if I'll go and try to insert the record, it will throw an error. So what error we are getting? The error is that unique constraint and the message or you can see this is the name of that constraint violated. So we know that that primary key is a combination of unique constraint plus not null. So in this time, this is not null, that's true, but this is duplicate value and that's violating the rule, that rule saying that this column can contain not unique values. So 1001 is already there in database table and we cannot insert the same values again in this column because this column is primary constant. And you can see this is the name of that primary key constant. So C006997, which we created. So same if I want to show you. So go to this constant and you can see this is the same name we are getting. So for example, if you will, your table will have multiple constant. So in error message also you will get the constant and by that you can identify which constant having that error message. So 6997, and this primary key is related to which column? So you will easily identify the column name because here you are not able to find the column name, right? So the column name is customer ID. So that way you can also debug. So now if I'm going to change this value to true, we will be able to insert the record, right? So you can see two record inserted, this record inserted, and if we will go to the table, we will be able to see the second record. Now we have to go for third record. So let me go and insert third record. So this 1003 and Sam 22. So you can see another record inserted and we have three records now in this table. So that's the use case of primary key. So now next we have a reference key that is foreign key. So why we will use foreign key and where we will use? Let me show you that example. For example, you can see this is our student database table, right? A student table which where we are going to store information, student information, or which a customer or a student. So yeah, this is customer table, right? So we created this customer table to store customer information, right? So the same way now that customer can have multiple orders from our org. So for example, we've taken this example, right? That customer, the order one we receive on 25th of November, September having that customer ID 1001. That's inserted successfully. Customer 2 inserted successfully. When we try to insert customer 5, so previously it was not there in our database, so we were getting error, right? Just because this customer ID column we added as a reference of the primary key for this customer ID, right? So the same way you can see we added the reference for customer from customer ID as with column cust ID for this customer, right? So that's the reason we earlier we were getting error, and now once we added this 1005 in our database, the error got resolved. So let me do the same. So let me create one customer table, right? So I think we already have the customer table code. So let me check. Customer is already there. Do we have the order table created? So let's create one table with order name. So it will be create table xx underscore customer orders. This is our table name. And the table having columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column. The first column is OID. OID, that is order ID. So here we will use the name as order ID, full name, and this will be number data type. Order date we will use as varchar, so that we don't need to convert the date. So just we are here for learning purpose. So right now we don't go for date. So once I will go for functions in SQL, then I will tell you about the date functions in more details. So now next column is customer ID, and the customer ID is number, right?
यार क्या बोलूं तो बंद कीजिए तो
Number, and this we have item, and again item will be varchar, and it can be thousands of characters. So item name can be lengthy. The quantity will be number, so that we can store numeric values. And in last we have the amount. So amount we will make that number. So it's done, right? So now here you can see right now this table having doesn't have any constant added here, right? So in this case, whatever number of customer information we want to store, we can easily store in this order table. But we don't want. We want that we can insert only items info or order information of customer in this table, which customer is already present in our this customer table, right? So that's why we have to make this customer ID as a foreign key with the reference of our previous table. So in this case, in this table we are going to make a reference. So this table will be child table, and the above customer table will be parent table. So let me add a reference here. So how we can add the reference? For adding the reference, here we have to add the references keyword, references you will be able to see here, right? So references, and here we have to give the table name. So which table we want to add a reference? So this is our table, and which column for this table we want to add a reference. So we want to add a reference of this customer ID column from this customer table. So here we have to make this in brackets. So now this column will be linked with this customer ID column of this customer table. So this customer ID column will store only values which value is already present in this table. Right, so let me execute this code so that it will create table. So now you can see XX customer order created, right? So now order table is created, and let's go for inserting records into this order table. So here we are going to insert into table name and values. And here we have to store the values. I'm not going to write the table columns name, right? So because I will insert record in sequential way only. So the first value is order ID, and here we give an order ID as a number, and here we have non-numeric number. So character values, I use number here, so I will store numeric values only. So order ID is 1, and after that we have next column is order date. So let me make that date is 27/09/2024. And after that, which column is there? After that we have column as customer ID, and we know that this customer ID can be the value which is already there in this customer table with the cus ID column. So what value we have in this customer table? So we have as 1001. So here I will use 1001. And now after that customer ID, we have items. So suppose they purchase lifted at medium size. And next column is for quantity and amount. So the quantity he purchased 3 and quantity he purchased 1 and amount is 1500. So these all are the column which we have to insert. So that's fine, right? So we are going to insert this record. So once we go for insert, data inserted into this table, right? And let me see this table. So select a star from this table and you can see one record inserted here in this table, right? So let me insert another record. So suppose next day another customer came and this day is 28 and the customer and it will be the ID 2, right? The record number, serial number 2, order ID 2 and this the ID of this customer is 2, right? And they purchased again the same electric fan, but they purchased two quantities. So let me make a 3000 and insert. So second record inserted into table, we are able to see this second record. So again, same day, same customer came and they purchased another item. So our order ID will be 3 in the sequence and same customer with the different items. So let's make as Surya Ball 20 and they purchase 5 quantity price is 500 something like that. So we are able to get the data that is inserted. So now if you will see the table, our table having all this information. So we have total 3 order and all these 3 order by 2 customer, that is customer 1001 and 2 order for customer 1002. Now we want to insert another customer came to our shop and they purchased few goods and the customer ID is 1004 and next record will be 4. So the serial number of this item ID 4 and they purchase this something battery, right? So they purchase one piece and this the cost is 50 for example. Now if you will try to insert this record, it will throw an error. So why it will throw an error? Because 10004 customer is not available in the customer table. So how many customer are there in our customer table? So there are only 3 customer available in the customer table and all the ID is 1001, 1002, 1003. Let me pin this result here. So once I will go to insert 1004, it will throw an error. So why it will throw an error? Because we added that constant in a way that this customer ID will be only that value already present in customer table. And what error message we got? You can see integrity constraint. Integrity rules violated, right? The security violated that we cannot store unknown values in this column. We cannot store unknown values in this customer ID column because we made that customer ID as a reference or that foreign key for the primary key linked to this table access customer with the customer ID column, cust ID column. So we can insert only record in this customer ID column, which is available in this column of the table access customers. So that's the use case of foreign key or reference key here. Right here you can see violated parent key not found. It means that the value we are going to store, this value is not present in parent table. That's true. So if we will insert a new record in this table, right? So this is our customer table. Suppose we added entry of this customer in customer table. Customer is Max, age is 25, and the location is Uttarakhand. So let me insert this record. So this record inserted. Now if we will go to the customer table, so now this customer table having this information, customer information 1004. Now if we will try to insert this again, this record will be inserted. You can see one record inserted, and we can find this order in the custom order table, customer in the order table. You can see the customer 1004. So that's the differences between primary key and the foreign key. So foreign key is just used for referring the primary key in their table. So here you can see in the customer in the order table, this customer ID is a foreign key referring to the primary key of this customer table, which primary key is cust ID, right? So in the foreign key, we can have the duplicate values. In foreign key, we can have duplicate values, but it's mandatory. A main point is in foreign key, we cannot have unwanted values which is not available in the customer table. So that's about foreign key. So now next point is, or next constant is a check constant, right? So which we already have discussed. So now we will implement this check constant in our table. So let me add one, let me create one table, right? So for example, we are going to create one offer table, right? So here we will create one table with name of offer, or we can say that selected customer or eligible customers, XXX offer eligible customer. So we want to store information of that customer in this table, which customer purchase items or purchase goods, and that goods amount is more than 100 or 1000, something like that. So we want to store all the customer information in this table. That customer having the amount is greater than the order amount or purchased amount is greater than 1000. Right. So that's time we will, while inserting the record, we will add the chip. Right. So let me add the column. So, so I will add one column as sequence, SEQ, I will use for sort. And another column I will give the name as cust ID. And next is order date and the order amount. So this four column we want to add in that table, right? So that, for example, here customer this one, right? The order ID D001 purchased the order on 20 items on 25th of September. The customer is 1001 and amount is 200. So when we will try to insert this record into this table, it should throw an error because the order amount is less than 1000. So that kind of check we want to add. So for adding the check here, we use the example here. We will check order amount greater than equals to 2000. So this check we are going to add. So let's see that this is our column name, this is data type, and this is the check constant, right? So let's add that one in our table. So we'll first create table with all these four columns. So let's create this table. So let's go to the database, create table name, and here I will use bracket start and inside that bracket I will give all this column name. So the first column name is SEQ and the type will be number. Next column is cust ID, CUST_ID, and data type will be number. Next column is order date, and it will be varchar. So here we use somewhere date as a varchar. So I will use the same date. So I given this space here so that all this data type will be in the same sequence so that it will be easy to understand, easy for view. So just I've given this one order amount. Right. Order amount will be again number. So here you can see again it's not looking good that this constant is this data type is started from here and this is all these are here. So I will just add one more tab here so that all will be in align. And we want to add the check constant in order amount, right? So that invalid amount will not be inserted in this table. So I will add the check here. So the CHP check is the keyword and check here we have to add that order amount is greater than equals to 1000. So this is the keyword syntax to write this one. So let me execute this code. So once we will execute, you can see XX offer eligible customer created, and we have to insert now. We have to insert records in this table. So we'll go for that. So this is this is insert command here. Insert into table name values, and here we have to insert the values. So what will be the values? The first values will be sequence. So we'll use sequence as 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Second column is customer ID. So here you can see this is our customer order table, and this customer order table, that the second value which we have to insert, that is customer ID. So this is our customer ID, and after that there is a date, this order date. So this is the date customer purchased order. So I will use this date here. And after that we have the order amount. So order amount is 1500, right? So this 1500 we have to pass here. So now we have to insert one this customer order information here, right? So once I will click here, this record should be inserted. So now you can see one record inserted. Why? The column condition we added as amount greater than equals to 1000. So that's true. Amount 1500 is greater than 1000. So now if you will see this table will have one records. You can see sequence 1 1500. So let me add another records, right? Another customer information. So suppose next customer is 1002. So I will give the 1002 information, and they purchase item 128. So I will give this date. And what's the amount they purchase? They purchase 3000. So again, this 3000 is greater than 1000. Here you can see 3000 is greater than 1000. So that record will be inserted, right? So let me execute. So you can see one record inserted. And if you will see the table, you will be able to see this record. Now it comes to the third record. And third record information is the customer order ID 3, and this order ID having the customer ID 1002 again. So this time I will copy this one. The order ID is 1002, that's fine. Order date is 28 and the amount is 500. So this is 500. When we will execute this one, it should throw an error. So why error? It's showing that you can see check constant violated. You can see. So what you have to do, you have to first check the constant added over here. So we know that in this table we added the check constant, and we added the check constant on order amount column. It means that whatever value we are providing in the order amount column, that is incorrect as per logic. And what is the logic? Logic is that order amount should be greater than or equals to 1000. And now what value we are passing here? We are passing 500, which is less than 1000. So that's why we are getting this error. So if you will change this value to 1500, again insert this record will be inserted. So that's the magic of constant, check constant. You can see the record insert. So we discuss all these remaining constant except that index. So index we will cover in upcoming days when we will in good shape in SQL. So I hope that the constant part we are in good shape. So I hope that you all are having the understanding on the constant right now. And yes, so we already done with this not null constant, default constant, unit constant, and today we went through that primary key constant, foreign key constant, and check constant. So in next session, we will learn about SQL functions. So let me just give you brief of functions. So what is function in SQL so that you will have some idea. And when we will go for next session, you will be in good position to understand about the functions. So for example, this is our table, right? And this table having the three records. So as we are able to see these three records here, so that's why we easily identify three records. For example, this table having lakhs of record. How we will find that how many records are there? It's not possible for you to go and check one by one, right? So that's why SQL given one function. With the help of that function, we can identify how many records are there in this table. So these kind of things we are going to use for that function. And obvious, one of the use case of functions you already aware in one of our second session. where we have to convert that string value into date type values while inserting data into order into the date table, date column, right? So that's also our function. For example, let me show you that real example. So here, this is our order table, customer order table, right? So let me add another sheet here. This is our order customer order table. That order table having various amount, right? Various records available there, right? So we want to show only customer, right? So which like who having that how many maximum amounts there, for example. So we want to show the amount which is what is the maximum amount in this order we want to see. Right. So how you can identify? You know that. Okay. So this is 1500. This is 300, 3000. Okay. Yeah. 3000 maximum. You know that. But in code, how you will identify? That's why we have functions, SQL function, and that is numeric function. So if you want to get the maximum values from this column, we have functions. So here, how we can use? So we have to find the maximum values from which column? From amount column, right? So we have one function name as max, and that function will ask you one column name. So here we have to provide the column name as amount. I will copy the column name here. Copy selected column. So what this function will return? This will return one value. That value will be the maximum values present in this column. So if I will execute this query, you will see the maximum amount is 3000. If you same way here, start. Let me pin this result, right? So here I will pin. So same way, if you want to get the minimum values from this column, so which one is the minimum? So the same way, just like we have max, we have mean function, and in this function, open the bracket, and in the bracket we have to provide the column name. For which column we have to check the minimum amount, right? So this is the amount column. So I will write here. This is the same as available here. So once you will execute, you will get minimum values available in this table. You can see 50 was the minimum. So this minimum function will return you the minimum value present in this column. So that's the benefit of using functions in SQL. And remember, SQL function will return only one value at a time. So here you can see in amount column we have four values, but this function returns only one values. When we are executing this function, it is returning only single values, that minimum, maximum, anything. If you want to check average, AVG is the function which will return you the average value. So if you will calculate all these things and you will divide it by 4, you will get this number 1262. So this is the magic of SQL functions we will learn in this upcoming sessions. So thank you so much for joining the sessions. And always, if you have any queries, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your doubts. Thank you so much again for joining this.